I tell you what, Drew, you are speaking to me, my man. I mean, I everything you are articulating is very similar to how I feel. Hello, everyone. Today, Dad Reacts is going to be reacting to Drew Gooden. Technology isn't fun anymore. And this one really caught my attention, not only because Drew has a lot of subscribers and a lot of views, but Dad sort of feels the same way about a lot of technology. So we're going to dive in and see what Drew has to say.
Hey guy, a couple weeks ago I was at an Airbnb trying to figure out what the $200 cleaning fee is supposed to cover if they're just gonna make me do a bunch of chores anyway, when we realized that episode 4 of Severance had just come out. And what great timing, this place had one of those beautiful...
I mean, I hate to stop so quick, but those Airbnbs, they definitely are just like, and there's a cleaning fee, plus take out the trash, put it over here, wipe down the counter, stick this over there, make sure you fold the sheets, put them back in the day. Like, they give you this whole list of little jobs that you're supposed to do and then threaten you with all these, penalties if you don't do it. I hear Drew right away.
85-inch frame TVs that make it look like an art piece on the wall. They had surround sound, they had a telescope pointed at the TV. I couldn't imagine a more perfect place to watch what would turn out to be a slightly confusing episode of television. So we turn it on and instantly we're like, why does this look like shit? I know that this TV costs thousands of dollars, as we knew it was because of True Motion or Motion Plus or whatever this TV calls that feature, where it smooths out every frame and makes everything you watch look like it was shot on an iPhone. The best thing about this feature is that it's always on by default. If so many people hate this, why after over a decade are TV manufacturers still forcing this down everyone's throats? How do they benefit from making their product look worse? I remember ecstatically...
This is a great question, and I think he's framed the entire video probably here with that one statement. Why would companies put pieces of technology into their products that the consumers hate? Why would they purposely do that? Set them by default, like we're going to put something in there that you're going to dislike on purpose. Like, why? And in the end, I have to always say the answer is always money, money, money. But let's see what Drew says.
Buying this Samsung in 2019 and almost returning it because the default settings made it look so bad I thought it was defective. I just kind of sat there in denial about it for almost a week before being like, this can't be right, there has to be a setting I can change. Tragically though, a lot of people don't know about this setting. They don't realize their TV is actively sabotaging their viewing experience, and if this doesn't describe you, it probably describes someone you know, and by that I of course mean your parents. So sit down with them, explain what's going on, tell them why you get a headache whenever you watch TV with them, and reiterate that it's not their fault. Show them this video by a guy named Noodle.
Let's say it's on twos. The AI doesn't smooth anything between the first and second frames of a single drawing because there's nothing to smooth. They're the same picture. This means that what was originally a perfectly fine 12 FPS animation is now a janky mess.
I will admit, I was a little surprised reading some of the comments on this video, seeing so many people disagree. I didn't know people liked it when the $100 million movie they're watching looks like a soap opera. Now I understand, of course, from a gaming perspective, people preferring higher frame rates, but I don't think that logic applies to movies. Games are interactive, so generally the smoother something is, the more responsive it feels. But you're not interacting with the movie, you're just watching. It doesn't need to be perfectly smooth. In fact, I think part of what makes a movie look like a movie is...
I gotta check. I just watched a movie the other day called Flow. It was about an animated film about a cat, no words in it, some dogs and other animals and a lot of water. And I kept thinking as I was watching it, like, it just seemed like really garbly, well put together. It was, I've also noticed in like Adobe Premiere, they have a setting like that as well for like, take your two clips and, morph them together so there's a smooth transition. But whenever I've applied that or done it, the results usually look pretty janky. They look kind of like, something weird happened. It doesn't look good.
The sort of ethereal nature it has. It doesn't look exactly like the way the world around you does through your own eyes, and I don't think it should. I saw someone say they like it because it shows the flaws in movies you couldn't see at 24 FPS, and it's like, no, the interpolation is creating those flaws. It's not reverting a film back to its original settings. It's not a director's cut your TV's giving you private access to. It's just generating new frames based on what it thinks should go in between the existing ones. That's where the errors come from. You're not watching a more authentic version of a movie because Sony Motion Flow added a bunch of blurry auras around every fast-moving object. The most authentic version of a movie is watching it the way it was filmed. You shouldn't have to change anything. And I think more than anything else, that's what really
Facts. Facts. I would agree. The most authentic way to watch a movie is the way that it was intended to be viewed by the director. And all this motion smoothing and blurring of things, it poops all over the quality. It doesn't enhance it.
Really aggravates me about this feature is the hubris of it. There are so many deliberate choices that go into making a movie look a certain way. There's so many people involved in those decisions that know way more about cinematography than I do, so I trust their vision. Why can't TV manufacturers do the same? Why do they look at a beautifully shot television show like it has a problem that they need to fix? Anyway, this experience got me thinking about new technology in a more general.
Well, I think in the answer always is, if you buy our TV, we have the motion put together blur sequence. We'll make all your viewing entertainment look even better.
Sense and how my excitement towards it has waned over time. Sometimes it seems like we kind of already figured everything out. You can communicate with anyone in the world instantaneously. You have immediate access to every piece of music ever made. You can pay some guy to deliver a cold burrito straight to your door and it only costs $70. This is the peak of humanity, baby. There's nowhere else to go from here.
You could pay some guy to bring a cold burrito to your door and it only costs $70. Have we all had that experience? I think we have.
Except backwards. So many things now seem to just invent a new problem so they can sell you the solution. Or if we do create something novel and revolutionary, it's only going to stay that way long enough for us to kill all our competition, allowing us to ruin our thing and make it infinitely more expensive.
There was a time where streaming services seemed like the final frontier of at-home entertainment, a marriage of cost and convenience that made all previous options obsolete. I mean, my DVDs are just taking up space, and even if I wanted to watch something, I gotta get up, dust off my Xbox, navigate a bunch of menus, switch discs every 4 episodes. Netflix is so much better than this. Until, of course, they quadrupled their price and got rid of every show you ever wanted to watch. So slowly but surely, a lot of people are moving.
Yeah, so that is something this dad has noticed. It's a bait and switch. It's been done for thousands and thousands of years. It's, hey, come join our service for free. And then when they get enough people there, all of a sudden it's not for free anymore. I hate to even say this in a YouTube video, but Google is doing this too recently to schools, where they used to offer schools all these free services, and now they're making the schools that have become dependent on those services pay for them.
Away from the unreliable streaming services and going back.
Yeah, and so let this dad just remind everybody who's watching, there is nothing in life that is for free.
Back to physical media. Things like Blu-rays, vinyls, tooth tunes. And I've actually begun that migration process myself. But because I'm incredibly stupid, here's how it's going for me so far. I started watching Friday Night Lights for the first time in December. It was something I had wanted to watch for years but always put off, which is crazy because it's a show about football, which I like, with a bunch of music from Explosions in the Sky, a band I grew up listening to all the time. It kind of felt like they made this show specifically for me, and still I was like, I'll get around to it eventually. It wasn't until a couple of months ago that I finally gave it a chance and got really into it. 12 days before it was going to be removed from Netflix. For the last 2 weeks of December, I binged as much of the show as I could, as quickly as I could, until around 3 a.m. on New Year's Eve. 13 minutes left in the season 2 finale. I was given an abrupt error message telling me that my beloved show was now gone. At this point, I was pretty invested, and I didn't just want to wait until it was maybe on Peacock one day, and I certainly didn't want to spend $2 per episode to digitally own it. So I decided what better time than right now to begin my brand new Blu-ray.
I could say over the last 20 years, I have digitally purchased, I don't know how many video games and movies. I could say 25 years, but I have no idea where any of those products are. I couldn't find them if I wanted to. Additionally, even going back to the old Apple Music, I bought tons of music. I don't even know how to get it anymore. It's mind-boggling that you purchase these things and you make these accounts and whatnot, and then as time progresses, you lose access to the accounts, or it just becomes too much of a hassle to re-access them, or you just get distracted by other things, and you no longer even know where they are. And it's money that you spent to own something, but you have nothing to show for it. Whereas back in the older days, when you bought a tape or a DVD or a CD for that matter, there was something there. You had this piece of physical property that you could always say, like, that's mine. You want to borrow it? Here, I'll let you borrow it for free. I mean, try to do that with one of these streaming services. What are you going to do?
Collection, starting naturally with a show I had yet to watch even half of. So about $37 and 8 days later, my Blu-rays show up at my door and I'm ecstatic. I can't wait to see how season 2 ends. So I pop the disc in my computer, try to play it, and it does not work. Turns out the external DVD drive I bought a couple years ago isn't compatible with Blu-rays, so I'm gonna have to buy another one. No problem, what's another $110? Jesus Christ. Well, I already bought the Blu-rays, I'm not gonna not watch them. So I bite the bullet on the Blu-ray drive. It shows up 2 days later, pop it into my computer, so excited to learn what will become of Brian Smash Williams. Huh, that's weird. Doesn't seem to work on VLC. Or the Any DVD app. I guess I could spend $20 on Blu-ray player, play Blu-ray, but that one says in its description that it doesn't play Blu-rays. At this point, I'm a little frustrated, but...
Isn't that also interesting? I wouldn't have anticipated that one, but if you go to try to buy Blu-rays to get around all these streaming services, and then you go to buy a Blu-ray player, they've already got it designed so that the Blu-ray player won't work unless you buy something else to like convert or transpose the media into some form that it'll present, even though the technology to do that without the app existed 25 years ago. It's just an unnecessary bit of technology put in place to just rob you, the consumer.
And more than that, I'm confused. So I go where I always turn to in times of crisis, a Google search with the word Reddit thrown onto the end. And believe it or not, even on Reddit, home of some of the most dedicated people on the planet, every single answer I see is, nah man, Power DVD 23 Essential is your only option. There is one way to watch Blu-rays on your computer, and it is with this app. You want to know how much that app costs? $80. And it's like, I don't want to spend another $80, but I've already spent more than that just to make it to this point. I have to see this through to the end. Anyway, I bought the app, and it works most of the time. Although I should probably say it's been doing this thing now where it tells me my cloud subscription has expired and I need to visit the Cyberlink members zone for more information. So, money well spent. Long story short, I spent $227 to watch a show that I could have seen on Netflix at any point over the past 7 years. And to be honest,
well, it also makes you just say, why does Netflix not just keep all these good, nostalgic, great movies on their servers? I mean, clearly they make oodles and oodles and oodles of money. They've got gigantic server capacity, and for them to keep the Friday Night Lights or some other series on there, it's really not that big of a deal for them. It's like for them to keep that on their server is absorbing, a very small rounding error of cost. They won't even notice that they're doing it. But what they're trying to do is get you to go buy more stuff. So I guarantee you that the people who run Netflix also are involved in the sale of the app that allows you to watch these Blu-ray DVDs. It's one gigantic, how do you put this? It's one gigantic corporate oligarchy. Every corporation is owning every other corporation. So if one benefits, then the others benefit. Netflix probably was talking to somebody else and saying, hey, we got this app, and every time we install it, when you take that off, we'll give you a piece. And so Netflix like, well, we can make more money doing that than having this Friday Night Lights actually on our site. Let's do that. And you, the consumer, are never even considered, except for how do we take more of your money? How do we separate you, the consumer, from your money? There is an entire army, literal army of people just trying to figure that out every day.
I'm not even sure if I like it that much. Also, I know what you're thinking. Drew, couldn't you have just put the Blu-rays into your PS5, you moron? Yes, I could have. But the whole point of watching it on my computer was so I could second screen RuneScape on my other monitor. What part of dopamine addiction do you not understand?
Sorry, that was more of a story about my own incompetence than a rant about the state of technology. So here's a rant about the state of technology. I live in Orlando, Florida. My favorite basketball team is the Orlando Magic. They play basketball 20 minutes from my house, and I am not allowed to watch them on TV because I live too close. I can sign up for NBA League Pass and watch any other team play except for the one in my city because of blackout restrictions.
See, I don't even understand all this stuff, but I know when I was a kid growing up, you put on channel 2, 4, 7, maybe 9 or 11, and you could watch the games, whatever it was, the Mets, Yankees, whatever you're watching, and you had commercials you had to deal with. And the fact that he can't even watch the games unless he gets a league pass. It just seems so diabolical. This dad, in the last 5 years, I used to be a huge sports fan. I used to love watching baseball and especially the NFL and football and some NBA stuff, but I don't watch a drip of it anymore. And here is where you, as a consumer, do have some power. You can stop caring. If you haven't noticed, most of these sports games at some level are fixed already because there's so much gambling going on around them that they have to be fixed. And when people say, well, no, somebody would be a whistleblower and shout it. Well, there's things called non-disclosure agreements, people. And people get hushed up and they get paid to be hushed up. And that's why they don't do it. And in order to fix a game, you don't have to tell everybody you're fixing the game. One person is all you need. One quarterback, one running back, one referee, one pitcher, one catcher. That's all that's required to fix the game. So my advice to everybody, and I'd love for everybody to jump on this bandwagon, stop caring about professional sports. Watch your college teams, watch your local high school teams, put your energy and investment there, and just turn off the professional stuff. Take the money away from them. They're a constant distraction for you and all of your family members, and they constantly sap and steal money from you. Stop it. Stop the nonsense. Take it from this guy. I haven't watched a New York Jets football game in over 5 years, and I can't tell you how much happier I am. I used to sit there every week and, oh, the Jets going to play, let's go, and just be abysmally disappointed week after week after week after week, all the way up into the Mark Sanchez butt fumble, and that was pretty much the last straw for me. That's when I said, something doesn't seem quite right here, and I haven't watched that ever since. And I feel so much freer about it. I apply my energy to other things now. When people talk about sports, I just walk away. I don't care. I don't care.
What do you think, I'm stalking them or something? Whoa, this guy's obsessed. He lives right down the street. I don't understand this restriction, and frankly, I never will. Is the point to incentivize me to buy a ticket to go see them in person? They play 41 home games a year. Am I supposed to go to all of them? And if that was the point of it, they wouldn't also black out road games unless you expect me to travel with the team. Guys, do you want me to follow them around or not? I'm getting mixed signals here. Anyway, here's what I've had to do the past 6 years as a paying customer in order to watch my team play. First, I had to sign up for Sling TV because they were the only ones with the Fox Sports who couldn't reach an agreement. So I had to switch to Fubo TV because they were the only ones with the Fox Sports Florida channel. Then those two couldn't reach an agreement, so I had to switch to YouTube TV. Can you guess where this is going? Yeah, they couldn't reach an agreement, and now I can't watch it anywhere, this time in the middle of a season. So out of desperation, I sign up for NBA League Pass, which again prohibits me from watching my team because I live too close. The workaround here is using a VPN to change my location to somewhere else. So now I'm paying for 2 different services just so I can watch the least popular team in the NBA. Adams.
And this, if you think this isn't done on purpose, and again, if you don't think the NBA gets a piece of these different services that you have to utilize to do this, then you're just a fool. This is all done on purpose. This is done as a way to just take more and more money away from you, the consumer. And again, I'm going to argue here, the best thing for everybody to do, is just give up professional sports. Just say bye. Let it go. Your life will get better.
Silver should be ecstatic that there are freaks like me out here. He should have a photo of me in his office that says #1 customer. So what do they do to thank me for my loyal patronage? Block the use of VPNs 6 months later. Do you guys want my money or not? I'm trying so hard to give it to you. Okay.
The fact that they were able to block the VPNs is also a very interesting little piece of this puzzle. I didn't even know that that was a thing. You could block VPNs. You could recognize if someone's using a VPN. But of course, I've often thought VPNs were just a scam, that you are either paying or you're not paying for one, and that is just collecting your information and selling it to somebody else. And not only that, but they know the kind of things that you are trying to prevent other people from knowing you're looking at. So that data becomes probably extra valuable. And I would probably tell everybody, I would just dump your VPN too, because whether you use the VPN or you don't, somebody already knows everything you're watching.
Now we're in 2022, and finally, there's a streaming app specifically made for people to watch their local team play. It's a miracle. It's called Bally Sports, and it is the worst app I've ever used in my life. It freezes during commercials. The feed cuts out constantly, especially in the fourth quarter. Not that I wanted to watch that part anyway. It refuses to remember my login information, and this is happening. Behind the scenes, Bally's parent company is not doing so well. They lose over $1.2 billion in 3 months. What, were they setting it on fire? Fast forward a few more months to 2023, and Bally is filing for bankruptcy. Well, it was nice while it lasted. Nope, they're still going. Somehow. Turns out I don't know what bankruptcy actually means. What I do know is that this probably doesn't bode well for the growing list of technical problems they apparently don't have the money to address. So that brings us to today, where after 3 tumultuous years, I'm excited to report that the app is now a little bit more reliable. But also it's been rebranded to the FanDuel Sports Network, which means every second of every broadcast is pretty much just one big ad for gambling. I should make a video about that. I know that this is one very specific gripe about a very...
And that's the other part of watching professional sports nowadays, is you're just constantly bombarded by gambling addiction. And no one ever tells you that it's a horrible, miserable addiction. And it'll creep right up on you. And it's being pushed and marketed to younger and younger people, particularly men, boys in high school, who are engaging with these apps, who are running around making parlays when they should be studying geometry. And it's disturbing. I see it in my daily life, and it's disturbing to see. Gambling is the addiction with the #1 highest suicide rate. It is a ruiner of families. It's a ruiner of relationships. And it's not given the fear or trepidation that something like heroin has, but it can be just as powerful and just as destructive. And the fact that almost every state in America is pushing it now in forms of legal bet on your phone gambling for people of all ages, even though they'll tell you it's 18, it's kind of despicable. It kind of shows you what our country has turned into. And it's not pretty. It's certainly not pretty at all.
Very specific problem, but I feel like there's so many things like this now. So many companies that seem to get their rocks off from making us have to jump through hoops in order to do anything. They're constantly merging with some other companies so they can both be sold to a third company. Content bounces around from streaming service to streaming service like a hot potato. We tried to streamline everything and only made it more complicated. I can't keep up. I'm just a lowly consumer. Everything's so confusing now. I need a break.
And I know that this is all still happening, but it seems like so many innovations now are just new ways to manipulate people or spy on people or replace people altogether. I'm not excited about what might be created in the future as much as I'm fearful of it. I'm fearful of what AI is threatening to do to every job.
I tell you what, Drew, you are speaking to me, my man. I mean, everything you are articulating is very similar to how I feel. And now you're heading down this AI path. I work in the world of education, public education, and we have been bombarded and smashed by how AI is going to revolutionize the world and change teaching forever. And maybe it will, but in terms of like my use of it, I'm really not impressed. And a lot of the time I spend with other teachers is talking about the fact that kids are cheating on everything by using the AI. And how do you combat it? And everything has to go back to paper and pencil tests in the classroom. No more assignments where a kid can sit down in front of a computer and a keyboard and write a paper. That time is ended. Nobody can do that anymore because no teacher can trust the result. And therefore, everything must be done on paper and pencil in a room in order to actually trust the output.
Job on Earth. I'm fearful of all these humanoid robots that keep popping up. What if one of them tries to kill me? Or worse, what if we fall in love? How am I supposed to explain that to people? For every OLED Steam Deck and surprisingly powerful tiny Mac computer, there seem to be 10 wearable AI companions, or a TV that's free because it never stops showing you ads, or what if you could wear your phone on your head so it could never stop showing you ads? I remember when touchscreen smartphones came out, and and I practically started drooling at the idea. This device, which I hate more than anything in the world, is incredible. It's truly amazing what this thing is capable of, but now the question is, where do you go from here? The jumps in phone technology have become pretty unnoticeable, despite how hard they're trying to get us to notice them. When we went from landlines to cell phones, that was crazy. When they added a full keyboard so you didn't have to spend 30 seconds typing one word, that was crazy. And then they added email and a really good camera and a touch screen and a GPS and the internet and a compass and now you can pay for parking on here, and you can download apps that stop you from spending too much time on other apps. Oh man, that line's really starting to slow down, huh? And this phone costs 4 times as much as this one did? No, that makes sense. If you Google "has technology peaked," their AI overview will tell you, no, of course not. I'm getting stronger every day. And consider this yourself.
Yeah, especially it seems like all the advances in phones nowadays come with cameras. And the cameras are just, I have to believe that the cameras, not only the microphones are on often when you don't know. I think everybody's had this experience now that you're just talking to somebody, you weren't on the phone, you're just talking to somebody in real life. Literally 20 minutes later, you go on your computer and you'll see an ad for something you were just talking about to another human, which meant that your phone is listening to you. And I think everybody understands that now. Your phone is listening to you all the time. Is your phone recording video of you all the time? I'm not so sure of that yet, but if it's listening to me, I would certainly start to assume that it's also recording me all the time and sending that information to God knows where.
Second strike, Drew. That's awfully ominous. And what was my first? No, of course technology hasn't peaked, but it does feel like it's starting to level off a bit. The improvements between video game consoles used to be astronomical. Now I end up on a side-by-side comparison video squinting as hard as I can trying to spot any difference. In 1995, video games looked like this. 10 years later, they look like this. 10 years after that, they look like this. And in the 10 years since, they look like... Wait, which one is a new one? And I know I'm viewing this from a consumer standpoint. I'm completely oblivious to the strides being made in medicine and science and interplanetary defense mechanisms. But it just seems like whenever a new thing comes out, we have to pay a lot for very little. Technology has gone so far in the wrong direction that people are now trying to find ways to go back. Physical media is making a comeback. Dumb phones are making a comeback. As people become more disillusioned to the future that was promised to us, the best way to break out of it is to recapture a sense of simplicity. And not all of this is just nostalgia. I think some of it speaks to the fundamental difference in how things are made now. You used to be able to own things. Now almost everything is borrowed. You're not buying a product, you're subscribing to a service. I don't own a bunch of music because I'm paying Spotify every month. I'm just temporarily given access to music until I stop paying and then...
Yeah, it reminds me of a line probably many of you have heard, which is, you'll own nothing and love it, or you'll own nothing and like it. I think this is a World Economic Forum phrase. And I certainly think that that is what the overlords of planet Earth want for all of us, that we're renting everything, that we own nothing. And everybody should be petrified and scared of that.
Have nothing to show for it. And even if you do buy a physical product, there's no guarantee it's gonna stay in the condition it was in when you bought it. A lot of things now can be remotely updated or even deactivated. The Spotify car thing completely bricked when they stopped wanting to deal with it. A few months ago, Roku forced an update onto all of their TVs, making it so you can't turn the motion smoothing feature off. This company just announced they're gonna start charging a monthly fee so anyone who already bought their thermostat can continue to use it. We're buying things that can be made.
That's the classic one. Hey, we're going to give it to you for free. Look, and it's free. It's free. Anytime someone tells you something's free, you should turn around and just walk away, because it's never true. Nothing's for free.
Worse or taken away from us whenever the manufacturer feels like it. So what are we even buying anymore? These things aren't designed to last because the entire economic system in this country is based on perceived shareholder value. If I sell you a product that you only have to buy once and then get to keep it forever, how will I get more money from you in the future? How will line keep go up if transaction over? So things break or become obsolete. A lot of tech devices are more affordable than they used used to be, but they're also more disposable. The interface on your 4-year-old smart TV suddenly takes 10 times longer to navigate. Your iPhone 12 suddenly crashes 5 times a day. No, we're not doing that on purpose. But it does kind of seem like a sign that it's time to buy a new one, right? And this isn't a conspiracy or an exaggeration. Technology is making us dumber. Rarely, while using your phone, are you in the driver's seat, except when you're texting while driving, which is a lot of fun. But it's mostly a passive activity. More often than not, you don't open an app in order to do a specific thing. You open an app and just see whatever it chooses to show you. Sometimes you like it, sometimes you don't. Either way, the past hour of your life was entirely decided by an algorithm.
Whenever I need to do something, I'm just telling myself, how many clicks is it going to take me to get this done? I got to buy some tickets to a movie maybe, or I've got to do something for work. I got to write an email or go fill out some form. I try to tell myself, how many clicks do I have to do before this is over? And I try to just keep going. How many more clicks? 5 more clicks, 4 more clicks, 3 more clicks, 2 more clicks, done. Because as I'm doing it, invariably, there's going to be multiple distractions thrust in front of my face that are going to try to send me off in other directions, down different rabbit holes. And I just want to go in there and get done with the job. And so doing this has helped me just be like, it's just going to take me 10 clicks, 20 clicks, 5 clicks, whatever it is, and just get the clicks in, get the job over, and then turn the device off.
You're not thinking for yourself, you're not making a decision for yourself, you just turn off your frontal cortex and submit to whatever Mark Zuckerberg has curated for you. And the more we're conditioned to accept this relationship, the easier it is to sell us an AI agent that does all of our thinking for us and that we learn to trust implicitly. I mean, how am I supposed to be excited about technology when this is the direction we're headed in?
I myself still prefer to write a check for some of my bills. I do auto pay, whatnot, but using apps, I just don't use apps to pay for things unless I'm totally forced into doing it. I try to limit all my exposure to apps because I know all the apps are just spying on me. They're spying on me, they're harvesting my information, and they're selling it to somebody else, probably for nefarious reasons.
You want to buy something else while you're here? You want some Alpha Lion Superhuman Hulk juice? What about Goof juice? Chug juice? Oh, I know what you want. A little cake shaped like Texas. They also give you rewards, but it amounts to virtually nothing and is really just an excuse to send you more push notifications. Hey, don't forget to use that 14-cent credit before it runs out. It only works on this website that sells hoodies for dogs. You open up the Ring app so you can see who's knocking at your door, and they're like, hey, you want to see this funny video of a goat? Venmo defaults to the page showing you how many of your friends had pizza this week.
That's crazy. How many people? You have to get Venmo me, Venmo. I'm like, no, I'm not Venmoing anybody. I don't Venmo.
Why do I need to know that? I bought that light in the corner a few months ago, and the only way to control it is through an app. And you're probably thinking, certainly there's no social media aspect to an app that turns lights on and off, and that might just be the dumbest thing you've ever said. Of course it has its own news feed, and
yeah, this kind of stuff is just insane. I mean, to think about, you bought a light bulb to get some kind of special lighting or a light fixture, and in order to turn it on and off, you can't just do what we've been doing for 150 years and flip a switch. No, you have to go into your phone. You got to log into an app. Now, I haven't heard him talk anything about multi-factor authentication yet, because that to me is the ultimate like stab in the face. I don't know how frustrated y'all are listening out there, but how many times do I got to enter the code and get the code and hit the button and prove I'm not a robot and do the thing and did it? My work life, I feel like sometimes half of my day authenticating that I am who I am while I'm sitting at my desk on the computer owned by my employer on their network. It's insanity, absolute insanity. And it's a time suck, a waste of time. When you quantify it all up, how much time we're wasting. Are you telling me we can't figure out ways to stop the hackers? Okay, sure. The hackers are part of the whole puzzle. We have to have hackers that can hack you. That's why you're going to want to buy the special service to prevent the hackers. I mean, it's very straightforward, folks.
hashtags. Of course there's a pop-up telling me to take the Govee app user experience survey so I can earn 50 Govee points and a chance to win Govee merch. App is a goddamn joke now. Worst change to an app that could ever happen. Can't even remember my dream view settings anymore. May as well check all my lights and bin if this is the only way to control them. What a joke. Well, I wanted to respond to this comment saying that I'm just here for the Govee points, hashtag Govee rewards program, but that feature is only available to savvy users. So I agreed to the savvy terms and conditions, and they congratulated me on becoming a savvy user. You're following all of
Yeah, and how scary has it become that almost all of us will agree to the terms and conditions without ever reading them? We're signing legally binding documents all the time when we use these apps, and the majority of us are never reading them. It's insanity.
of this, right? Instagram has its own TikTok feature. Twitter has its own TikTok feature. And you probably guessed this because you'd never make the same mistake twice. The Govee app has its own TikTok feature. Everything is the same thing, and I'm tired of it. These apps are all so intent on monopolizing your time that they'll design it in a way that makes it hard for you to leave. You click a YouTube link on the Facebook Messenger app, and instead of just taking you there, it'll be like, oh, I guess you want to open that app instead, huh? All right, here's a button. It doesn't work though. No, I'm just kidding. It will work if you click it 15 times. And then it will take you to the App Store so you can open the homepage of YouTube and just search for that video yourself. Was that helpful? Good, it wasn't supposed to be. I just noticed the desktop.
Yeah, it's great that you try to switch from one app to another, and that'll probably just last for a little bit longer, Drew, because at some point, they're all just going to be owned by the same exact thing. So they're not going to care that you jump from one to the other. It's already happened for the most part. I'm surprised that even happens.
Top Instagram website has incorporated that thing that's supposed to prevent you from accidentally exiting out of like a checkout screen or a form you're halfway through filling out. But they're just using it anywhere on their website. Literally scrolling through the homepage, I try to leave. They grab my arm and say, "No, are you sure you're done with us? We were just about to show you a really cool ad. Are you sure you don't want to see what it looks like?" Sometimes I feel like you don't even like me anymore. It's no wonder so many people are trying to turn the clock back on technology and return to a simpler era. Not so far back that you gotta like eat bugs and sleep on a log, but just back to when these modern conveniences were still exciting and didn't feel so predatory and manipulative. Technological advance.
Predatory and manipulative. Great words, Drew. And then when you put it in the light of children, it's even scarier and worse, because children don't necessarily have the wherewithal to know they're being preyed upon and they're being manipulated. If you're an adult, shame on you. You should know better by this point. But for kids, they see any jingly, shiny thing. They're like, oh, what's that? That's cool. Let's go do that. That sometimes these kids have access to their parents' credit cards. I mean, that is every app makers, every corporate businesses, like, holy grail. Let's get an army of 5 and 6-year-olds with their parents' credit cards and get them addicted to things and sell them stuff all day. I mean, it's a family destroyer is what it is. And it's sad reality in the world today. The family unit is being destroyed for a corporate profit.
Advancements don't feel fun anymore because of the motivations behind so many of them. It doesn't feel like we're trying to make life better when almost everything is designed to be as addictive as possible. These things aren't supposed to be fun additions to your life. They're supposed to be a new thing for your life to revolve around. And no amount of profit or growth will ever be enough. It seems like there's more thought.
That's absolutely true. There's never enough. There's always more money to squeeze out of the consumer. And in the 2020 era, what we've jumped into, it's all about addiction. How can we get the consumer addicted to something, watching our app, watching our service for the longest amount of time possible? And while they're watching, either harvest data from them that we can sell, which is one way to make money, or continue to sell things to them while they're there.
It seems like there's more thought put into how you can continue to charge people for something they already own than to just expand the experience of it in the first place. But hey, at least we're using all that extra revenue to pay the employees, right? Sorry, I'm doing that thing again where I try to provide catharsis by ranting in a critical yet lighthearted fashion, but just end up spreading more negativity in the process. So I'd like to end this video by highlighting some technological innovations that I'm thankful for.
Number one, fiber internet. In 2018, we lived in a house where it would take me 2 hours to upload a 15-minute YouTube video, and during that time, no other device in the house could connect to the internet because I was using all of it. Now I get like 2 gigs per second and it never goes out. That's a luxury I know I take for granted. Now I should probably say that AT&T almost electrocuted me when they were digging in our front yard, burst into a water pipe, flooded half the neighborhood, and knocked down a power line, leaving live wires dangerously close to the newly installed moat they surprised me with. But they did offer me a $1 credit when I called to complain. So I wish I was joking about that. They destroyed our lawn and then offered $1 single as an apology. And you know what? They're still not as bad as Spectrum. Number 2, our Nespresso machine. This is the world's greatest invention. It's all the convenience of a Keurig, except it doesn't taste like burnt garbage, and you can actually send the pods back when you're done to have them recycled. I mean, allegedly. They probably just throw them in the ocean like I do. I can't believe these pods are only moderately more expensive than K-Cups. They taste 100 times better, and you don't have to wait 45 minutes for it to cool off. Side note, how much money do you think Sabrina Carpenter turned down to not do a collaboration with them? They had to have asked, right? That's that mean espresso. It was right there. What are you guys waiting for? Some stupid YouTuber to promote your shit for free? Never gonna happen, bozo. Number 3, electric razors. Why was I scraping the shit out of my face for so long? These things aren't just better, but they're cheaper in the long run because you don't have to change the blades all the time. And I can use it on my balls.
All right. Dad always been a hater on the electric razor. Gives him like pimple stubble. Doesn't like it at all. Much rather have a nice, fresh, clean blade on there. I'll use the same blade for 2 or 3 sessions, and then, it starts to get a little rough. Toss it, get a nice, fresh, clean one, get a good shave. Not a big fan of the electric razor at all. I'm sorry to say, but your little K-cup things over there, if you do some more research on them, you'll probably find out that they're horribly bad for you in some way. And you're better off just making coffee with organic beans and not dealing with all these pre-packaged up little kind of time saver things, because they're probably loaded with crap that you don't want to put into your body.
Oh, was that it? It was just the 3 things? Sorry, I thought I'd have more time to think of an outro here. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe.
Yeah, Drew, I love your content. I think you nailed it. You articulated so many points that I think so many people are feeling. I'd love to like go out to lunch with somebody like you and just kind of shoot the breeze and better understand, like, from your perspective. You look like you're in your like low mid-20s or something. What is the world looking like to you versus to someone who's like in their mid-50s, and what I've gone through and what I've seen. And thank you for a great video. I really enjoyed watching it and reacting to it. And take care.